That's his problem. Is that, yeah.
All right, I'll call the regular council meeting of May 25th, 2021 to order. I've got a proclamation that June is Recreation and Parks Month. Whereas in Alberta, we are fortunate to have a variety of recreation and park systems providing countless recreation opportunities for all residents and visitors from around the world. And whereas recreation and parks enhance quality of life, active living, leisure, education, and lifelong learning, helps people live happier and longer, develops skills and positive self-image in children and youth, develops creativity and builds healthy bodies and positive lifestyles, and enhances overall mental health and well-being. And whereas recreation and parks build family unity and social capital, strengthens volunteer and community development, enhances social interaction, creates community pride and vitality, promotes equity, inclusivity, sensitivity, and understanding to cultural diversity, and fosters a sense of belonging. And whereas recreation and parks can be used for therapy and rehabilitation of individuals experiencing illness, impairment, and disability. And whereas the benefits provided by recreation and parks programs and services reduce healthcare and social service costs, serve to boost the economy, economic renewal, and sustainability, enhance property values, decrease vandalism, attract new business, increase tourism, and curb employee and absenteeism. And whereas our parks, open spaces, and trails ensure ecological sustainability, provide space to enjoy nature, help maintain clean air and water, and preserve plant and animal wildlife. And whereas all levels of government, the voluntary sector and private enterprise through the province participate in the planning, development, and operation of recreation and parks programs, services, and facilities. Now therefore be it resolved that the Alberta Recreation and Parks Association does hereby proclaim that June, which witnesses the greening of Alberta and serves as significant gateway to family activities, has been designated as June is Recreation and Parks Month, which will annually recognize and celebrate the benefits derived year-round from quality recreation and parks resources at the local, regional, and provincial levels. Therefore, I, Tyler Gandam, City of Wetaskiwin, in recognition of benefits and values to the recreation, parks, and leisure services provide, does hereby designate this month of June as June is Recreation and Parks Month. Whew, they have a long proclamation. Item 3, adoption of the agenda. Anything to add? Moved by Councillor Billingsley. Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried. Item 4A, approval of the minutes for the Committee of the Whole minutes of May 10th.
I move that City Council approves the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes, May 10th, 2021.
Moved by Councillor Lonsdale. Any errors or omissions? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried.
I move that City Council approves the regular council meeting minutes, May 10th, 2021.
Moved by Councillor Lonsdale. Any errors or omissions? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried. Item 5A, temporary road closure, Main Street.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
The purpose of this is the Council approved the temporary road closure for Main Street, 50th Avenue on June 18th, 2021 from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. to accommodate crosswalk painting at 54 and 55th Streets. Representatives from the Sexual and Gender Acceptance, Wetaskiwin contacted administration looking for support for their 2021 Pride celebration. Pursuant to the Municipal Government Act, Council may by resolution temporarily close the road for a maintenance project. As the rainbow crosswalk painting may be deemed road maintenance, a council resolution is needed. while policy CD-001 delegates the authority to close non-major roads to city manager. Section 42 of the bylaw 1893-17 provides the main street closures must be approved by council. The closure is required to allow safe painting and drying of the crosswalk. Recommended motion is council approves a temporary road closure request for June 18th, 2021 from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Council may also direct administration not to close Main Street between 54th and 55th Street. Strategic plan, goals, and action items to create a strong community identity and celebrate the diversity that makes Wetaskiwin unique. The implications are city staff time to close the road and assist with crosswalk painting. There's no legal risk at this time, no program or service at this time, and city staff would need to be dedicated to this event to help paint the crosswalks. Stakeholder communication to provide a balanced, objective information to citizens. Your direction?
I move the city council approves the temporary road closure request for June 18th, 2021 from 6 p.m. till 10 p.m.
Moved by Councillor Billingsley. Any discussion? Councillor Bronco.
That between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m., they're painting the lines? Is that enough
Yes.
time? Or is it 6 a.m.?
No, PM.
Okay, thank you. 'Cause I think Byron said 6 a.m. I understood 6 a.m. No,
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Billingsley.
Byron, through the chair, or through Tyler, I guess. The paint that
Sorry.
we're on. So the paint that's been used for the last 2 years really has not held up. Is there anything that we can do to increase its longevity?
We could go to thermoplast. That is one recommendation. I don't have a cost to that at this time. But the painting, we've been able to, we've kept the cost to a minimum because at one time it was a donation from a local business that did the original payment.
Thank you.
The city's not paying for the paint though, right?
No.
Just the way you had said that, it made it sound like we were now.
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
That's what I was thinking.
Councillor Bronco.
Thank you, Tyler. To Byron. Byron, have you tried color pigment mixed with the sealer coating that goes on it, like we would do a pattern concrete to change it?
No, but we would welcome solutions.
Uh,
The paint is not cheap by any means.
Well, the paint, I know the paint's not cheap, but if you had I think a bag of different color pigment, and if you mixed it with a high gloss sealer, $20 for a bag of pigment, you can get just about the rainbow colors. And you can spray it on, but you do need about 24 hours to cure it on a hot day. So, and the cement would suck that pigment into it, goes right into the cement.
One concern I would have with that is closing Main Street for 24 hours. Yeah, and tough, and also as well, I think it would increase the cost for the maintenance for the staff purposes, because right now the volunteer groups does all the painting. We just supply the materials and the layout of it at this time.
Councillor Nielsen.
Is it possible to not for this particular motion, but is it possible to get the numbers that you spoke of, Byron, in terms of the thermoplastic inlay? What kind of dollars would it cost over time? Maybe that's a fundraising activity for the group or whatever, but it becomes a more permanent solution to that particular issue. So I think those numbers would be potentially important to have moving forward in further conversations.
Will do, yep.
Thank you, sir.
Councillor Bronco.
Thank you, Your Worship. Tyler, to my colleague there, if we were to go with that pigment, the problem is with the grinding because they're so close together.
They would run, like with the
Well, it's
colors
not
running.
run,
It
it's
was,
you need the time to cure it. So if you think we think 24 hours to put high gloss sealer, I think you're gonna get
For each line?
for each line, yeah. Like you could do the outsides and leave it in between. And then the problem is if, once that wears out, because we have to grind it. If you're gonna grind it, we have to grind it flush, so when the grader comes and plows, it doesn't remove it because it's already sitting at a high point. But maybe the other option, like I said, we just use a high gloss sealer, with the color goes right into the cement, and you just do that every year if you wanted. But the issue is closure of Main Street. And it's a lot cheaper to get that color. If the guy wanted black or red, I got lots of those colors. You have to just mix it with a high gloss sealer, tape it, seal it, and then dry. So
Councilor Nielsen.
I have no problems with the solution. I think all I'm trying to get at is there something, whether it's that solution or thermoplastic or whatever, that can make that a more permanent solution and some related costs and time elements or whatever. And then you give it back to Saga to decide if that's something you want to pursue down the road. But then they've got the real numbers to make those decisions with.
I agree. Anything else?
Tyler, could we get a motion
I made one. Councilor Billingsley made one.
for the cost estimates?
Oh, that can be a subsequent motion. We've got a motion on the floor. But yes, you can absolutely get direction from council on. What a wonderful idea. Anything else on the closure? Ready for the question, those in favor? Carried. I would also like to point out that it was carried unanimously, and I'm very proud of our council. No, I don't mean that. I mean that sincerely. I absolutely do. Councilor Nielsen.
I certainly don't want to be seen as trying to sway direction without full council approval. So I would like to move that council directs administration to do some homework with regard to other more permanent long-term solutions for coloration of those crosswalks, or conversations in the future. I don't have a timeline for it. It's at least 6 months away from having to do it a second time, I think, or maybe a year. I have no idea. Okay, so we've got a year to get that report back.
Well, sometimes we touch it up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh. To research. Sorry, it's the teacher in me, Karen, that comes out when I talk about homework. You can delete long-term. To come back within 6 months. Sure, that's very fair. If it's fair to administration.
Councilor Billingsley.
Can I make a friendly amendment to research permanent solutions for paving sidewalks and provide pricing to Saga?
I don't know about that, because something like that, if we do thermoplastic, that then becomes a permanent thing. And I think, especially given the new council coming in for that November one, I think that should still be a decision of council, and then putting it back on Saga to do the fundraising if council wanted to see that as a permanent fixture. at the crosswalk. Well, I think it should still come back to council, and if council approves it or moves forward with it, then it's up to SAGA to fundraise for it.
And that's sort of what I'm trying to go with this, is to show that the city isn't going to be paying for this, that this. will
Oh,
be-
absolutely. This
Right,
is not
but-
the city paying for it. This is getting costs back to present to them. But it's still gonna be up to council whether or not that's going to be a permanent fixture at that crosswalk. I would hate for this to go back to SAGA, them say, yeah, we've got $20,000, perfect, let's do it. And then the next council is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Or even if it was this council, whoa, 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 that's not the,
But this isn't saying that we will go ahead with it. It's
yeah,
just getting
which I
pricing.
I just don't think it needs to go back to SAGA. We're getting the information back.
I still like the idea of having, and let's have a vote on it, I guess,
Yep.
as far as.
It's not a friendly amendment. It would then become an amendment and then voted on and then go back to the original motion. Because it's changing the dynamics of the motion. It's no longer friendly. If you're asking where the information is going to, as opposed to it coming back to council and sending it to SAGA. SAGA is not requesting the information, council is.
So just for clarification then, so you're indicating you would rule out that friendly amendment because it changes the,
So I'm saying that it's an
Okay.
amendment that we would
Yep.
vote on, and then we
Yep.
would go back to the motion. Yeah.
okay. May I make an amendment to my own motion?
As soon as Councillor Billingsley's decided if he's making an amendment.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'll withdraw to.
Okay. So Karen, all I'm, more permanent solutions and related costs. That's it for now.
Councillor Blatz.
Mine's a friendly amendment. Can we change the wording of sidewalks to the painting of rainbow crosswalks?
I was thinking you'll take that as a friendly amendment. What do you think?
No, obviously not.
Wait till she owes you money. Anything else? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried. Item 6B, request a change of motion.
Administration is just looking for a correction on date. So at the last council meeting, we were directed to bring back cost estimates for ATCO trailers by June 7th, and the council meeting is actually June 14th. So we're just looking to change the date of the motion.
I guess I'm calling a special council meeting for June 7th. Councillor Blatz.
I move that council directs administration to bring back costs on setting up a new location for the hub, as well as information on the purchase or lease of ATCO trailers by June 14th, 2021.
Moved by Councillor Blatz. Any discussion? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried. Did you oppose it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, sorry. That's okay.
Needed the pipe.
They're more like visually
I know.
eye grabbing as opposed to not being eye grabbing when it's visual. Item 6C, Fortis contract buy down.
So administration has been working with AUMA since we signed up with the Power Consortium and did a review of all of the city's power accounts. And in the RFD, in Table 1, they had identified several locations that the city could buy down the power. and have potentially $85,000 in savings. So what happens when the city purchases or supplies power to a building, they have to identify how much power they're going to need to use, and then that becomes their base. If their power consumption falls below their base, they still have to pay the base amount. And so what happened in a lot of these facilities was we anticipated that we were going to have higher power consumption than we actually did. And so for years, we've been paying more than we needed to in these specific facilities. In Table 2, it identifies, as per our contract, how much notice we have to give to each location for the buy down, and the notice is in months. So we've identified, we either give notice and we wait those specific months in each one, and then our rates can drop, or we buy it down and then our rates drop as soon as we get those paid. So we went through and did an analysis, and administration is suggesting that we buy down every one of the facilities noted here except for the pool. And the reason for the pool is that it's 22 months notice. And as per the contract, Fortis will only let us buy down a certain amount each year anyways. And so we could only buy down 1 year at a time. So we're suggesting that we phase in the buy down of the swimming pool, and then all of the other sites we buy down this year. We believe we can get this done within the existing budget, given the few months that are of notice there. Additionally, there were 3 locations that were noted to have zero consumption with an additional savings of just over $10,000 a year, and administration plans to terminate those power locations. So not 2021 and not 2022, but in 2023, we would see a $95,000 decrease in the power consumption area of the facilities, and then it going down each year between now and then. Administration is recommending that we buy down the water treatment plant, the raw water pumps, City Hall, Northeast Sewage, and the Wetaskiwin Library.
Councilor Hanson.
I move the city council approves the contract buy down for each location, being the water treatment plant, the raw water pumps, 4705 50th Avenue, Northeast Sewage, and the Wetaskiwin Library. And if I may, I have a question,
Please.
through the chair to Sue. So Sue, help me out here with the swimming pool, because there's a statement here that to give notice on the pool and buy down other sites. The total cost to buy down for 2021 would be approximately $69,000 versus a savings of $59,000. So what is that really telling me? That we give notice and we start making the payments, or what is that statement saying to me?
Yeah, so for the pool specifically, we need to not only give notice, because they only allow us to buy down 30 kilowatts a year. And so we're going to give notice that we're going to buy that 30 kilowatts down, and then we're still going to have to pay a specific amount this year. It wasn't worth it when we ran the numbers to pay down the entire 112,000.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Councilor Billingsley.
Sue, through the chair. So do we have risk as far as ending contracts? Because when you sign into a contract, obviously your rate is fixed. So what are we moving to? And at what rate? Like, I'm just trying to figure out exactly where the savings are going to come and what the penalty is, and is there risk involved by getting out of a contract?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, there's always risk. So one of the risks that we identified, so of the 3 locations where there's zero consumption, one of them is the old pool, the Abusifi Center, and the power was left there in case we needed a spray park or a sign or something else. But we've been paying on that for 5-6 years now or more. And our discussions with Fortis was it might be better just to cut our losses now until we know that that's a plan, and then include it in the construction costs. As far as risks with rates, we're locked in, so our rates are set. And the only thing that the notice period, that is their blanket or their protection. They've given notice period, and if you want out of it, you have to buy it down. So that's the penalty. But once we buy it down, and we're suggesting that that we buy it down to basically, just below our average use, because we had some spikes in some areas. And then it'll be the same rate based on a smaller contract minimum. So rates are the same.
So the contract really isn't about the rate, it's more about the amount of usage, is that correct?
Correct. So the rates are set through AUMA because we signed up with that consortium. And the minimum, the floor that we pay is what we're trying to reduce. Because if we had a floor of 100 kilowatts and we only used 80, we have to pay for 100. And so we have to buy back down that power.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes.
Councilor Nielsen.
Through the chair to Sue. So as you renegotiate your minimum kilowatts, I'm assuming that if you go over your minimum kilowatts, you're going to have exponential charges assigned, higher charges if you go over your max.
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, we don't. It doesn't go at a higher rate. What they say, though, is that they can't guarantee. If we're continually using, they may have pulled out some infrastructure to put somewhere else. They can't guarantee that they'll supply enough power for what we need. But we looked through 10 years of data, and we're consistently under the base rate in the ones that we're suggesting get bought down.
So, and you mentioned you would come back down to your more average use. So are you planning on being above the average? Like on the first one, like water treatment plant, our contract is for 263, we're using 87. So in a new contract, we're going to suggest what, 87? So we'll be hitting the average.
Correct.
And then if we go up above, we simply pay the kilowatt rate overage with no guarantees attached to it.
Yeah, we pay the same rate, but it's if we go under, then we're still paying
Yeah.
87. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Covers it? Good. Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried. Item 5D, Council Strategic Priorities Report.
We haven't had a meeting in a long time where I'm the only one talking. Okay, so the purpose of the report today is just to update council on the strategic priorities that were outlined last fall for administration and give a quick explanation on where we are at. So we highlighted in red the most important directions that council had given us for action items. So improved safety and policing. The objective was to build stronger connection to the RCMP while developing a better community understanding of safety and its detriments. In the action items, red was what we've put on hold. 1.1 was to develop a council and community action plan for the RCMP by June 2021. And that's in progress. So the inspector was here and talked about what the priorities were with council at the last meeting, and that's being developed out and will be brought back to council for final approval. And then consider community education on police prioritization. Again, that's part of what Inspector Drance was doing. And I think some of this ties into as well the report that Paul and his team are doing related to the long-term community safety plan. So expand the wealth and well-being of the community. The objective was to maximize growth opportunities and establish effective development partnerships to build a strong tax base. 2.1 we had put on hold. We had reported earlier that that there were potential contaminated lands there. And so we are looking at how to investigate that and what we can do moving forward. And there'll probably be something in the 2022 budget addressing that. 2.2 was develop a plan to maximize growth opportunities for the Wetaskiwin Airport. So that's in progress. And Candace has been working with Wendy to develop out which businesses should be attracted to the community, and they'll be reporting back to council regularly on that. And then 2.3 was to market Wetaskiwin community through aggressive campaigns, including highway advertising and the use of radio and television. So the rebranding is part of that, and council's been kept up to date on that. And then the economic development team will be reporting back when they've identified which billboards, et cetera, that will be used. And then 2.4, we put on hold, set a target for increase in economic development activities, including the number of active business licenses, construction values, and non-residential building permits. So we'll be looking at rolling that out in 2022 if that stays on the new council's strategic priorities list. The next area of priority was to recognize and welcome all members of the community. The objective was to actively support the uniqueness of the community, including culture, religion, age, sexuality, and ethnicity. 3.1 is develop and implement the Inclusivity Action Plan by July 2021 or January. I think we passed that. So we're also looking at this through the EDI, the task force that we have going. And then there's also other actions with different departments and how they all tie into this inclusivity. And the committee will be reporting back to council before the budget. The next one was 3.2, so look at City Involved Inclusivity Day, and we've kind of put that on hold. We'll wait for the task force to come forward with recommendations to council. The next priority was to establish long-term plans for managing municipal financial resources to ensure stability and service delivery. And the objective was to develop and implement a reliable system to collect revenues, sustain reserves, and manage assets. So we have all of these on hold right now. Some of them could get started or are dependent on other actions that we have going on right now. So 4.1 and 4.2 are part of that. 4.3 was part of the budget in 2021, and it was not approved by council, so we'll bring that forward to the next council. And then the final priority was be proactive in the acquisition, maintenance, and disposition of all capital assets. The objective was to develop and follow a plan for maximizing the use of all key infrastructure categories, including facilities, roads, and in-ground services such as sewer and water. 5.1 is in progress. So we had an RFP out to do a facility utilization review. That RFP is being reviewed by staff right now, and we anticipate that the contract will be awarded sometime in the next week or two, and then that contractor or consultant will start on that work and report back to council before the next election and budget. We did put on hold the 5-year, I mean, we do have a lot of that in the TMP, the 5-year road plan, but we didn't, we're not digging into it any deeper right now because the plate's pretty full with the other things in this area. And yeah, 5.3 to 6 are all on hold right now, and we have them pegged potentially for a 2022 if they make it through the next strategic planning session. So does anybody have any questions?
Councilor Nielsen.
Oh, sorry.
I move that the city council.
Sure.
Okay. I move that the city council receives the Strat Priority Report as information.
Moved by Councilor Hillgardner. Any discussion? Councilor Nielsen.
So a loaded question right off the hop. So council set up 5 priorities, and administration came up with 18 action items. And so administration is acting on 6 out of 18. And and one of the priorities will have no action at all, establishing a long-term plan for managing municipal financial resources. So, how do we, as a council, establish priorities, which city administration then takes those and puts them into action items, and then one of those goals is completely put on hold? Just help me understand that. And I'm not, I want to be clear, I'm not complaining about it, I just want to understand it, because it's one thing for council to say, here's the things that we say really are really important, and you say, here's how I think we can action them, but then for a wide variety of reasons, we don't. Tie those pieces together for me, could you, please?
Yeah, for sure. So through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, the way that this is worded is actually how it's supposed to happen. So council establishes the priority and the objective, and administration does the action items. But if you remember the way that we did the strategic planning in November, council actually picked all of this. So we divided it up on how we want to see it in the future. But these action items actually came from council. And when we were going back and discussing it, we said, there's no way we can do all of these. You need to pick one in each category. So council picked, I'll use the ECDEV one, the second priority, as an example. Council had actually picked 2.1 as the objective that you wanted us to focus on. And then we came back and said, okay, there's contamination in this land. We're not going to be successful in this. What else do you want? And then council came back and said to us that they wanted to market Wetaskiwin. So the marketing of Wetaskiwin was the one direction that you gave us. And we happened to be able to we were already doing work that related to 2.2, so we included that. So the business mix gap analysis and the attraction study that ECDEV was doing did speak to the airport, so we highlighted both of them. The established long-term plan, the one that council wanted us to do was 4.3 to set the tax rate goal for the next 3 years. We brought that forward for budget and it was turned down. So it was one we're going to keep on for next year and bring back again because it was a council priority or an action item. But based on what happened through the budget, it just didn't make the cut. And normally, like the next session that we have planned, council will set the priority and objectives, and then administration will leave and come back to council and say, here's the ways we believe we can meet this. And then we start to have that discussion on what the priorities are.
And then, may I, Tyler? Thank you. And when should council be concerned that action items that get approved or picked, selected by council, when should we be concerned that this one gets dropped and this one gets dropped and this one gets dropped? Because my immediate perception was, holy mackerel, we had all these aspirations and we've hit a third of them. And recognizing we had the conversation earlier about how many can really be managed, I understand that. But at what point should a council become concerned that the action items get dropped off the list?
You should be concerned when any of them get dropped. So again, this isn't really a normal process. We came at this knowing that we were going to be really limited in what we could do. My goal in the next round of this strategic planning is to be reporting back. Ideally, it's quarterly, but if we need to touch base with council monthly to say, these are the challenges we're having, we're not able to meet these objectives, then we do that. We should be bringing that back, just like the contaminated lands, right? When the team went away and realized that there was a lot more work that was going to be involved in that, we went back to council and said, hey, by the way, there's going to be a lot of work on this. What's your second priority? Because there's no way we're going to be able to meet this. We'll do a lot more rigor around the next session and make sure that whatever we're proposing to council is achievable.
Okay, and then my last question, if I may. So when council establishes the priority and objectives, administration, the action items, when those action items come back, do we prioritize those, or do you prioritize those in terms of what you think you can manage or what we think is the highest priority? How would that proceed?
So administration would come back and say, here's the action items based on these objectives. And we believe this is the order or, the priority of each one. If council disagrees, then we would just highlight why we didn't have it as the priority. And if, let's say we needed some resource to complete it, then we would look to council to say, okay, if you're going to move this up right now, then we would be looking for this or that to support it coming to fruition successfully.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried. I guess I'll entertain a motion to go on camera. Counselor Blatz.
Sorry.
That's good. Those in favor? Carried. We are now in camera and we will take 8 minutes. Anything else? Teachable moments happen at any time, Councilor Blatz, and I will take them every opportunity I get.
That's admirable, but
So moved. Those in favor? Carried. Karen, do you have that motion from in camera? Somebody want to make that motion? Please.
Okay, I move that the city council directs administration to pursue facility feasibility as discussed in camera with the funding up to 7,500 from the operating reserve to be brought back by August 16th, 2021.
Moved by Councilor Hillgartner. Any discussion? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Someone that wants to leave so bad. Councilor Blatz. Those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
May I get all,
Everybody,
I'd like to get all those documents back, please, and then I'll turn them over to Sue.
can I keep mine?
Sure. Can I keep mine?